This is my story of Highguard's collapse. Every video I've made about it cut into one long-form video. Highguard failed loud. It started doing that the moment it was announced at the Game Awards 2025. This game was yet another attempt to mash a shooter together with a dozen other mechanics and reinvent the wheel, which led to a complete oversaturation of systems that had no depth. The heroes were bland, forgettable, zero charisma. It was another cash grab dressed up in skins and season passes. And more than anything, this game is a case study in how developers, chasing a worn-out online shooter concept, became completely detached from reality, living in a vacuum of toxic positivity, as we all found out over time. Hey everyone, this is Alex. Let's roll the video. New breed of shooters. That's a lie. Making a new trailer for hero shooter is not enough anymore, and making a new game in this genre right now, that's almost financial suicide. So Highguard might be a massive flop before it even launches. The internet is buzzing right now about Highguard, that free-to-play shooter shown at the very end of Video Game Awards. We used to the ceremony closing with a bomb of GTA or The Witcher level, but instead we got this. And you know what? If they had shown another season of the finals or even Concord in the spot, the reaction would have been exactly the same or worse. People are tired. They are tired of their hobby draining their wallets while offering nothing new in return. And hear me out. To be clear, there are no questions about Wildlight Studio itself. Judging by their resumes, these are pros. But even the best chefs can't save a dish if the ingredients are rotten. The problem lies in the free-to-play model itself. Remember Splitgate? The game director promised to make FPS great again. The result? A failed beta, aggressive monetization, and rebranding. And now here comes Highguard, trying to sell us a new breed of shooters again. It's like trying to reinvent the wheel. Of course, you can improve it. Just look at the Doom Dark Ages. It's great evolution from Doom 2016. Its software didn't break the foundation, they polished it. Highguard, on the other hand, is trying to mix destructibility, mounted combat, and hero abilities into one big mush, calling it a revolution. But under that free-to-play sauce, it just looks like another attempt to reach into our wallets, because obviously they gonna have monetization. And one last thing, putting this trailer as the closer was a slap in the face to the audience. It's obvious that Slot was bought for a huge amount of money to artificially inflate the hype, but it only left a bad aftertaste. At the end of the show, we want to see a dream, not a business plan. Let's talk about the trailer itself. Answer this question in the comments. Did anything in this trailer make you form an emotional connection with this world? With the game, the world, or the characters? Because for me, zero emotions. They don't tell us who our protagonist is or what this world is about. Everything is disconnected. We're just fed lofty phrases that are supposed to sound epic. The characters shown in the trailer are unclear to us, and I understand that it's hard to show all of that in just over 2 minutes. But we're living in a 2025 where a video has 3 seconds to grab attention, and this trailer failed to do that. But you know, I have an example of a classic arena shooter trailer. It probably looks outdated by today's standards, but the Team Fortress 2 trailer managed to show and portray all the game's heroes in just over 1 minute, without words, and show gameplay. And I'm not even talking about the trailers that introduce each hero separately. They are all stereotypical, but those stereotypes are mocked, and most importantly, they aren't afraid to do it because it's humor, open and honest. Globally, the gameplay was presented as a PvP raid shooter, where players need to secure the shield breaker and then capture the enemy base. I didn't see anything new there. I believe the shooting from mounts was done just for the sake of being unusual. It looks like a chaotic gameplay element without specifics. The same goes for destruction in the game. Right now, it's only shown for effect. The whole building blew up, sure, but how does that help tactically? Wouldn't it be better if the hero spent his special ability to get a frag? And I also want to talk about the tone of the trailer. I don't understand this modern fashion of making online shooters so painfully serious. I'm tired of seriousness in online shooters. This fake seriousness as if the fate of the world depends on it. And even when they try not to make them serious, it still looks dull, as if every character line and their appearance has to be so neutral that you could fall asleep. And this is exactly what kills games. How many examples have we already seen? Lawbreakers, with all due respect to the gameplay itself, Hyenas, Concord, and Splitgate 2. The market is so oversaturated with the shooters right now that just releasing a trailer at the end of the Video Game Awards is no longer enough. I see only two ways to advertise an online shooter right now. Either pure gameplay that actually sells the game's features and shows them off, or a trailer with deep immersion into the world so that an emotional connection with the heroes appears. Arena shooters are a more skill-dependent subgenre. The modern games industry is first and foremost a mass audience. You can't spend a ton of money now just to make your game niche. You have to be a money-printing machine, otherwise the game will be shut down. What makes arena shooters good is that you lose nothing when your hero dies. Respawns are fast and matches are shorter than in extraction shooters. In extraction shooters, character progression in the form of numbers and loot is the main value that makes you play again. And the barrier to entry there is lower, although Hunt Showdown is an exception in this regard. So what is valuable in an arena shooter then? Gameplay and skill. The gameplay there has to be super concentrated, but how much pleasure a player gets directly depends on their reaction and knowledge of the game mechanics. In short, their skill. Still, it's a bad sign when, before the game is even out, its very first trailer falls in the mud. But maybe that's for the best. The year was very turbulent for the games, and the next one won't be any calmer. However, perhaps by going through such cataclysms, the industry will be able to change for the best and find new forms and approaches to online shooters. As I've said before, money runs the industry. Jeff Keighley isn't a saint. He gave Highguard the closing spotlight at TGA 2025. Somehow, this game even got a green light to be made in the first place. Players aren't fools. They tore the reveal trailer apart, and they were right. Highguard is so generic you can't tell it from the last wave of free-to-play flops. Battleborn, Bleeding Edge, Crucible, Concord, Lawbreakers, Hyenas, Splitgate 2, different logos but same template. If your pitch is "we also shoot," you don't have a pitch. 2 weeks from release and there is nothing from the studio. Since the reveal and the backlash, their YouTube and X accounts looks lifeless. No development breakdowns, no clear updates, no plan to win back trust. Are they scared? Are they crunching to flip something last minute? Or is this game trying to steal Concord's crown for the fastest shutdown in the genre? Short life service, shorter memory. The numbers speak for themselves. For a free-to-play shooter, 8K followers according to SteamDB is tiny. That's not a runaway, that's a cliff. And I'm honestly happy for the Eternal Life of Goldman. It's sitting at number 253, while Highguard is at 244. Sadly, Sacrifier hasn't managed to overtake Highguard yet. Here's the arena problem in the plain terms. These games are skill dependent, and the entry feels slow but punishes fast. That's bad for mass appeal. Casuals don't want to memorize tag and sweat just to land a headshot. And Highguard's trailer gives us nothing specific to fix that. A little shooting, a little mount riding, a couple of heroes' special abilities, that's it. We've seen these systems, we know them. So what exactly is the hook? Shooting itself is one of the oldest gameplay mechanics. You won't surprise anyone with the reticle. Their twist is horseback gunplay, which gives us zero emotions. It's just an effect shot, not a gameplay mechanic. If it doesn't shift meta, it's just animation. Guns plus destructibles, it's not a reason to return. Meanwhile, the market already has Overwatch, Team Fortress 2, Call of Duty, Battle Royales, extraction shooters. They all revolve around shooting, and they all have enormous audiences. Putting someone with years of skins and hours invested from one session grinder into another is nearly impossible. We are creatures of habit, and the habit is a brutal stopper. And you cannot outbid habit with parity. The bigger issue with new free-to-play arena shooters is sameness. Their trailers copy the same script, a vague world where everyone is trying to steal a briefcase from a hero or capture a point. Or there's a grand arena the world is watching while heroes fight on it. But there's no antagonists, there's no protagonist, no one to care about. No emotional anchor, zero interest. No stakes, no stickiness. Instead of high-quality cinematic longer than 3 minutes, we get another assembly line shooter with characters provoke zero emotion, promising that every round will feel different. No, it won't. Not if I don't care who's in that round. Variety without identity is noise. Why did Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch break through? Because they have worlds you can describe beyond the trailer.
Anyway, that's how I lost my medical license.
Overwatch's cinematic reveal trailer is 6 minutes. It gives you good and evil. People mocked Disney look.
Who's laughing now?
And yes, Overwatch became a corporate casualty, but these characters, and Team Fortress characters as well, are instantly recognizable, from silhouette to attitude to voice. If the character doesn't grab your attention in half a second, the hero doesn't exist. Can you tell me which game this character is from? Or this one? Heroes without face become zero in the funnel. Mass audience won't bite here. The character design refuses to take risks. The project takes them instead. The risk of burning money, the risk of layoffs, people end up on the street. Have a look at the economy outside. Trend chasing doesn't ensure jobs. With the trailer like this, developers kills two birds at once: the game itself and the genre's credibility. And about hiring. According to LinkedIn, Wildlight Entertainment is still hiring developers even in January. Pouring gasoline on ashes is not a strategy. It's sad watching the industry sabotage free-to-play for quick money and not realize that these projects keep burning the genre. Highguard is dead on arrival. And it's not because the players are cruel, it's because the pitch is empty. IGN is trying to defend Highguard by forcing us to tolerate things we don't like. Even worse, they are once again blaming gamers for studio closures, claiming that voicing our dislike is somehow destroying the industry. Let's read the article and I'll give you my thoughts. The author calls the Highguard trailer a surprise. And honestly, he's right, nobody expected such a bland game to close out the Game Awards. The article claims this slot has typically been reserved for highly anticipated single-player games such as Naughty Dog's next project Intergalactic or the next Mass Effect. Both of these examples are debatable. Naughty Dog isn't exactly in its prime right now, and let's be real, a cinematic trailer of their new IP is just that, a cinematic. It's too early to draw any conclusions, especially since the community already has questions. The same goes for the Mass Effect, with Dragon Age the Veilguard being a complete failure and BioWare's total radio silence since who knows if a new Mass Effect even happened. The author calls out the community reaction. Type Highguard into YouTube and you'll be almost exclusively met with videos headlined something along the lines of "This game is cooked." I'm here to state what I thought would be obvious. We should actually play games before we definitively decide if they are good or bad. First of all, welcome to YouTube. Emotion is what makes people click the thumbnail, and understanding the video comes after. Secondly, sure, some people are just hating, but the majority are pointing out exactly where the trailer fails. And thirdly, if we're supposed to play games before judging them, then games need to launch literally day one, right after the trailer drops. But modern marketing doesn't work like that. I understand not being into the look of a game, but among the gaming community it increasingly feels as if there's now almost an underlying need for new releases to be bad if they are not exactly what we want from one. Have people forgotten how to speak directly about things they don't like? I don't think there's anything wrong with expressing your views and emotions when a product is pitched to you. You either like it or you don't. The article goes, such willingness to dunk on a game for which we only have a single trailer and 10 screenshots displays a complete misunderstanding of a rising tide lifts all boats mentality when it comes to game development. More successful games are ultimately good for everyone, even if this specific one doesn't meet your personal tastes. We all want to enjoy games and get new experiences, but pulling that off with a generic shooter is incredibly hard. A rising tide lifts all boats, sure, but only if it's a tide of water, not garbage. In this specific case, the boats in the harbor didn't even budge. I won't call the game garbage, that's unfair, but the trailer was tasteless, it was emotionless. Then, ironically, the author starts to question the game themselves right after defending it. Of course, it isn't just the gameplay fueling this fire, but the relative lack of noise from developer Wildlight Entertainment following its reveal. More than a month later, this teaser remains the only video on the game's official YouTube channel, which is odd for a game that received such a priced reveal slot on gaming's
biggest night of the year. And he continues, there is not even an explanation of how this new breed of PvP works, which is unhelpful considering raid shooter is not a commonly recognized genre. Highguard itself may well not be bad, but the marketing promoting it certainly could be accused of being subpar. This is marketing disaster. Developers must communicate with the community, not just when the game is a success and launching in a month, but especially if the game is facing this kind of backlash. The author then claims it may well struggle to find a substantial audience, but it's this immediate and complete writing off of a game that irks me somewhat, basically confirming that the game is likely to fail. No, writing off a product isn't the goal here. People have simply started to value their time more, and they are much more vocal about their dissatisfaction with the industry. And finally, the author displays a complete misunderstanding of the economic situation. I can't help but feel that many of the same people gleefully rubbing their hands together at what looks like another underwhelming game in their eyes will be the same bemoaning the fact that the games industry is in a difficult spot where layoffs and studio closures seemingly happen on a weekly basis, putting the creatives they admire out of work. If no one is attempting to make new experiences and at least try to deliver on the promise of a new breed of shooter, then we're in a grim place indeed. Look, they really tried. I'll give the studio credit, they really tried to show their vision, but that vision didn't sell the game. If the studio closes, the industry will watch, learn and move on, adapting to economic reality. Large publishers operate with massive sums of money. They cannot afford for a multi-million-dollar long-term project to fail. That's why they chase online trends. A shooter is the easiest option on paper, but it's the hardest genre to actually surprise and hook players in an oversaturated market. If they fail, the industry learns a lesson. That's the path of progress. It has always been this way.
Into lands uncharted and dangers untold, I venture without fear and ride without rest. For coin or for cause.
Highguard is the monument to the desperation of the online shooter industry. This game displays total deficit of ideas. It simply doesn't work. It's a Frankenstein's monster with expensive plastic surgery just to look appealing. Highguard proves that online shooters have degraded. For the mass audience, colorful graphics and speed are key, otherwise getting that dopamine hit is too hard. However, instead of creating something truly new, Wildlight Entertainment took easy way out, simply copy-pasting everything from other online shooters. And if you have connections in the industry, you can get a late-night show with Jeff Keighley, and you might get nearly 100k players on day one. But there's no guarantee that the game will be successful. It also just shows how much Jeff actually understands games. In general, gaming journalism proves that they don't understand games on a deep level. They can only write about what they see on the surface. And at the same time, they are actively trying to create the illusion that the game is a success and that it's just a bunch of internet haters ruining it. Just look at these headlines. This is article from PC Gamer. Highguard deserves a chance, so don't kill it out of spite. Review bombing doesn't help anyone. If you ever played a truly terrible game, a real 33%, then you would know Highguard is far from that. Did they even read Steam reviews? People are complaining for specific reasons, and these are just 3 screenshots out of tons of negative reviews. Chances are it'll be a long time until we see someone else come along and attempt weird genre fusion like Highguard again, for fear of risky new projects being handed a death sentence. This literally sounds like we are obligated to cherish the game and protect it, praising the developers just for not making absolute garbage. It is an absolute tasteless game. This is the worst thing you can say about the game. Are we really hating on Highguard for being a generic copy-paste that's not trying anything new? If so, how come recent hits like Marvel Rivals and Arc Raiders to an extent haven't faced similar criticism? I love these games, but let's not pretend they have reinvented the wheel any more than Highguard. Here's what I have to say to that. I haven't played Marvel Rivals or Arc Raiders, but I have played Siege, Overwatch and Hunt Showdown. These games offer specific gameplay episodes where mechanics give you pleasure, scenario variety and force you to think, not just dump 2 mags of ammo into dummies. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Highguard is hollow. We'll get to my thoughts on gameplay, but if you just want to shoot guns, you're better off in Apex or Battlefield 6 or Arc Raiders. And the PC Gamer article ends with total nonsense. As it stands, it's far from perfect, but sacrificing it for fun isn't helping anyone and removes the opportunity for Highguard to build on its foundations. Sure, you might not like it now, that's fine, I don't even love it. But maybe you would later down the line in a potential future. Voice valid criticism and let things play out whether you love it or hate it. But review bombing sends a bad message to the industry that will backfire for everyone. Does the author hear himself? He contradicts himself completely. Let me get this straight. The author feels entitled to say he doesn't love the game, yet he has the nerve to scold us for leaving negative reviews. Talk about double standard. Or take this example from PC Gamer. Highguard is fine when you don't have an internet in your ear telling you it's nasty. It's well made, but I don't see Highguard becoming a habit. First, the author claims the game is good, until you start reading reviews and getting convinced it's bad. And in the very next sentence he kills the game immediately, saying that despite being well made, it won't become a regular habit. And he continues, let's set aside the noxious cloud of internet surrounding Highguard for a second. Ignore those overwhelmingly negative Steam reviews full of folks who have played it for less than an hour and pretend Highguard is just a new free-to-play FPS that came out today. Why can't a person write a negative review if they played less than an hour? It is still a gaming experience. It means the game offered them nothing new, so they are openly writing about it. But why is 6 hours in author's opinion enough to write a review? And how can they expect us to treat this like some random online shooter when they gave it the grand finale spot at the Game Awards? And then he writes this: Highguard is out. I played around 6 hours between launch day and a preview event in Los Angeles last week. It's got slick gunplay, a neat 3v3 mod that I've never seen anywhere else, and a business model that sounds less scummy than most free shooters. It's pretty fun. I don't think I love it. For the love of God, are you illiterate? I think it's time you stop writing about video games. Excellent gunplay, unique mode, fair monetization, and it's fun? According to your checklist, this is a Game of the Year contender. So why I don't love it? Maybe because you're just ticking boxes for paid review instead of actually feeling the game? But why am I grumbling? When describing the gameplay, author calls it complex. It sounds complicated. It is complicated, especially when you layer in the upgrade store. Gadgets and character abilities I haven't even covered, but I can't deny it works. After a few matches where I barely understood what was happening, the unique tug-of-war dynamic clicked. I found a warden I liked, and great matches were had. This game isn't harder than Call of Duty or Apex. It's absolutely single-celled. It's brain dead. And the article ends with this: I'll keep playing it because I'm reviewing it. Stay tuned for that. But I don't see Highguard becoming a habit. Essentially, the author admits at the end that he is part of that internet, calling Highguard a bad game. And here's another headline from Kotaku. Mining crystals in Highguard is so damn satisfying. It's funny how game journalists try to joke with headlines when the internet is openly screaming this is a bad product. For some reason, none of the major journalists mentioned the game's tutorial. This is the very first stage of mass player filtration. The tutorial has no voice acting. All scripts run slowly. New objectives take forever to appear. The tutorial could be beaten in 10-15 minutes. In reality, it took 20-25. It is boring. It feels like a level purely for Q&A to check for bugs. After the tutorial, you can finally play. And I'll share my experience through the lens of the IGN review. Raids are smartly broken into a few phases. A short defensive phase where players pick their starting weapon loadout and reinforce their own base. This is the most boring phase of the match. First, in this phase, Highguard decided to take a mechanic from Siege, reinforcing the base. It looks absolutely chaotic, mindless. In Siege, every map, even the bad ones, has strategy, vulnerable spots. In Highguard, these reinforcements add no depth to the gameplay. Essentially, it's a minute of waiting to be released from the base. Also, the minimap at the top of the screen gives zero information when choosing a map to play. Then an exploration and looting phase where teams leave their base in search of weapons, armor, and other upgrades to use in battle. This is the second part of boring gameplay. In this phase, Highguard decided to copy battle royales. All the maps are huge. That's the biggest negative. For a 3v3 mode, it's a failure. The maps are empty. Loot is randomly scattered in chests, and you are rarely encounter an opponent. This is supposedly the most important preparation stage for the main fight, and it's as boring as the sound of crickets. There is no challenge, no need to think.
Your task is just to mount up and loot right around so your brain gets cheap dopamine without working too hard. Okay, I agree, some people want to relax after a hard day, but Apex and Call of Duty already exist for that. But the real fun begins during the intercept phase, when a sword called the Shield Breaker spawns on the map for one team to claim, making conflict between the two teams inevitable and showcasing Highguard's stellar gunplay. This is the third part, which strangely reminds me of Dota, when enemies come and destroy the base. Here's the chaos begins. This is a mindless brawl among 3 trees. There is no need to try and flank the enemy, no need to smartly use hero abilities. They are secondary. The best ability is shooting, but enemies soak up damage like sponges, which only adds frustration. Basically, the entire difficulty boils down to keep your crosshair on the enemy's torso as accurately as possible and waiting for them to die from your bullets. IGN is actively trying to add color to faded gameplay. In Highguard, the entire value of raid is flushed out the drain. You aren't fighting for loot to keep it. You just loot chests, and you don't even need to fight for them, they're enough. There are no PvE bosses to loot rares from, which would have been cool. If you call your game a raid shooter, then commit to it. Highguard's gameplay issues are actually secondary. Its main problems is that it chose to make a pompous entrance at the Game Awards. The developers merely stroking their own egos by being invited to close the show, unknowingly set the bar impossible high. They stepped in front of a mass audience that is already sick of industry hypocrisy. That audience will show no mercy if you hype your game like that and then go silent for a month. Maybe if they have done a shadow drop, the criticism would have been softer. But now, this game is getting burnt. You've seen the Steam reviews. And at the time of recording this video, the player count is this. A mix of Dota, Apex, Call of Duty and Siege didn't give Highguard's identity. It has no face. Once again, a game with huge potential was killed by gamers, according to a tweet from one of the Highguard developers, Josh Sobel. But in reality, Highguard was killed by lies. But as always, the developers and the press will dump the blame on gamers and those who make content. Josh Sobel, who worked on Highguard, after posting a tweet accusing content creators and regular players who played less than an hour of the game of review bombing and hate, he deleted his tweet and his account. Apparently, his sanity couldn't handle the internet. And by the way, it's also very convenient to blame Twitter or X, call it whatever you want, for the hate. Anyway, he only showed his inability to admit the mistakes that led to the game's failure, and just to keep a straight face and stand by his words. It is very convenient to dump a bunch of crap on the players and then just run away. But the internet remembers everything. In the beginning, he says that the day before revealing the game was the best day of his life. But then he mentions the most critical moment that basically led to the collapse of the game. After 2.5 years of passionately working on Highguard, we were ready to reveal it to the world. The future seemed bright. Everyone I knew who had any connection to the team or project had the same sentiments. This is a light in the bottle. I trust this team wholeheartedly. There's no way this will flop. I want to say that this studio was a team. They came together united by one goal and similar views and ideas about game development. That's both great and the most dangerous thing. Of course, you're going to be delighted with the game, but it feels like the studio completely lacked critical thinking and shown the game to journalists who have access to the industry, who make a living licking the boots of every game they paid for. That's not shooting yourself in the foot. That's more likely letting yourself be mortally wounded and then bleeding out to death. It's a lie that will kill the studio and the game, which led to its demise when the game was finally shown to players with completely different views and tastes. When you beat your chest like this and promote the game by saying you're industry veterans from the creators of Titanfall, Apex, and then you show a trailer like that, disappear into silence for a month, and then drop a game like this, people will have every reason to treat the game at least with prejudice, especially considering that later they removed the mentions of Titanfall and Apex from the Steam description. And even worse, if you have that much experience behind you, how did you manage to make a product like this? And he continues. And since we were an independent, self-published studio built with royalties in mind, many of us were hoping this could finally be the thing that broke the millennial financial curse. The word independent here sounds like an excuse. Don't try to paint yourselves as a tiny, poor developer who was bullied by the big bad internet. But then the trailer came out, and it was all downhill from there. Content creators love to point out the bias in folks who give positive previews after being flown out for an event, but ignore the fact that when their negative-leaning content gets 10x the engagement of the positive, they've got just as much incentive to lean into a disingenuous direction, whether consciously or not. But you as a developer completely ignore how pompously you announced your game, and then just as loudly went completely silent. I get the impression that this studio simply had no culture of asking honest questions. It feels like the studio lived in a positivity bubble, or just a lie. And here's how he ends his post. Even if Highguard had a rocky launch, our independent, self-published, developer-led studio full of passionate people just trying to make a fun game, with zero AI and zero corporate oversight, deserved better than this. We deserve the bare minimum of not having our downfall be gleefully manifested. You know, you made a game that is just playable in my opinion, but I don't see anything that would describe it as made by passionate people. When a studio hypes up a shiny wrapper at TGA with absolutely nothing inside, and then after the flop, a developer posts about what the studio deserves or doesn't deserve, it's time to take off the AR glasses. Arguing that you deserved a different outcome is meaningless and frankly childish. Did Guardians of the Galaxy deserve to be forgotten? Did Deus Ex deserve to sit on a shelf as an IP and gather dust? What's the point of crying about this to the entire internet? You messed up, it's a harsh lesson, but it's better to learn from it than to delete your account. That's just too performative. And again, you shouldn't hide behind being an independent studio that self-published the game. You have funding and you have connections in the industry. You can make a loud entrance. What's more, you were offered that opportunity yourselves at TGA. If it really happened exactly like that, but it doesn't even matter anymore. You really did manage to break the millennial curse, but not the financial one, the millennial positivity bubble curse. You forgot that people who watch TGA are people who actually care about games. They are waiting for interesting announcements. It's a holiday for the audience, even if in reality they are just shown ads in the form of game trailers. You forgot that by the finale, people are waiting for something really cool, something interesting, not a generic shooter that screams loud slogans at you from the screen. Don't blame gamers. There will always be those who like the game and those who don't. And it can also happen that the game has overwhelmingly positive reviews and overwhelmingly negative reviews. That's reality. You gave everyone a reason to talk about you in a bad way. And instead of talking to the community and doing streams with developers, you went completely silent. Players are tired of an industry that feeds them lies and only sucks money out of their pockets. People want openness and honesty. Highguard didn't live in this reality and therefore deceived the players. So before we get to the epilogue, I want to be upfront about something. In this last part, I was thinking about what could have saved Highguard. Maybe in some parallel universe, it actually worked. It was not the attempt to defend the game, I was running a thought experiment. What would it have taken for it to survive just a little longer?
Highguard was actually a really solid game, but that was in an alternate universe. Sadly, it got shut down there too, because farming resources required a sphere that looked way too much like a Pokeball, and the Nintendo of that universe sued the developers into oblivion. So yeah, game over. Hi everyone, this is Alex, and in today's video I want to talk about two massive topics: the absolute fallout of Highguard and the latest news/rumors surrounding the next-gen consoles. Alright, let's talk about Highguard. The servers are officially shutting down, and honestly, considering the launch, it survived slightly longer than some expected. But the game still got hit with a massive wave of criticism. Instead of just piling on, I want to dig a bit deeper. What exactly should they have done to actually make Highguard a success? First off, I'm pretty sure that at the TGA 2026, if developers want that prime mid-show slot, they'll have to cough up a lot more cash. Nobody wants to be dead last. Closing the show is probably going to be the bargain bin option. I'm joking obviously, but honestly, I bet that's roughly how it's gonna play out. But let's get back to the game. Let's say the announcement stays exactly the same, revealed at TGA 2025. What actually needed to be in that trailer to hook us? The devs needed to show real, raw raid shooter gameplay. They needed to give us actual glimpses of what the game is. Imagine if the pitch was this: we want to make a shooter with raid mechanics. You're probably wondering, what does that even mean? Picture this. Players drop into a relatively tight map for a 5v5 match. Before the chaos starts, teams have to fortify their base. But this isn't just brainlessly running around slapping up random walls. You can reinforce specific lanes where you expect the enemy team to push, but you can never seal everything off completely. There will always be vulnerable blind spots. For combat, players are wielding magic, bows, and slow firing but absolutely devastating muskets. No M16s, no RPGs, no frag grenades. On top of that, resources are scattered across the map. You can farm them using a sphere that looks suspiciously like a Pokeball. Also, to crash the enemy team and secure loot that buffs your heroes, players have to take down world bosses. These bosses rotate every week, bringing completely different abilities to the table. Once the boss is down, the winning team snags the stat boosting loot and immediately pushes the enemy base, forcing the other squad entirely onto the defensive. Imagine if the developers shadow dropped an open beta right after the TGA reveal. Then, in February, Highguard gets its full launch. The game immediately hits 100k peak concurrent players and sits comfortably at mostly positive reviews. But right before any natural player drop-off can happen, Nintendo slaps them with a lawsuit. The game shuts down, riding off into the sunset, remembered by players as a damn good shooter, a genuinely solid mid-tier game, and all the community outrage gets dumped straight onto Nintendo. Sure, all of this might sound a bit silly, but jokes aside, building a successful online shooter right now is insanely difficult. The market is absolutely flooded with multiplayer shooters. The pie has already been divided, and trying to steal an audience by just slapping on one unique mechanic that other games don't have, it's damn near impossible. It has to be something truly groundbreaking. Think about it. No player is going to permanently abandon a game where they've already dumped hundreds of hours and bought a ton of skins just to gamble on an unproven new shooter. The sunk cost is simply too high. In my opinion, back in the 2000s and 2010s, MOBAs and RTS games served as solid alternatives to shooters. But let's be real, those are much more complex and demanding games. They attract a smaller audience, and in these games you need to think more, whereas a shooter is a purely addictive clicker where your enjoyment completely depends on your reaction. Free-to-play online shooters will keep coming out and also collapsing after release, and most likely new players will be coming into them from old shooters because they have gotten stale. But then the desire to return to the familiar game will take over. Gamers will abandon new projects and again play those online shooters to which they are accustomed and which have firmly taken their niche. I'm sure that games like Concord, even if it's not a free-to-play game, will keep appearing and we will still be discussing them and laughing at them. But they will look for other ways to advertise themselves, and possibly they will even learn something to survive a little longer. Thanks for watching to the end. Subscribe and hit like if you enjoyed this. If you're not, thanks for watching anyway, and drop a comment below. Which upcoming game as a service do you think is next to collapse the same way Highguard did or Concord, and why? See ya!